Hello, I am calling to order the meeting of the zoning administrator for the city of San Clemente. This is a special meeting. My name is Cecilia Gallardo Daly and I'm the zoning administrator. The first item of business is to receive and file the minutes from the previous meeting, but there are no minutes in the packet to review, so we'll go to the next item on the agenda. And this is oral and written communication. This is the time when members of the audience may address the zoning administrator on any item within my purview, but not on any item that is on the agenda. Anyone wishing to speak may have 3 minutes. I don't believe anyone is here to speak on non-agenda public communication, so we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, and that's our public hearing. The public hearing process includes a staff presentation, a presentation by the applicant not to exceed 10 minutes, and public testimony not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker. Following closure of the public hearing, the zoning administrator will respond to questions raised during the hearing, discuss the issues, and act upon the matter by motion. We have one public hearing item today, and that is a special activities permit for 111 Avenida Vista, Montana, and that's the 4-day pickleball tournament at Lifetime Fitness. So we'll have Jonathan Lightfoot give us a presentation on this item.
Great, thank you. So I have the screen, so we're all looking at the same thing as we go through this. SAP stands for Special Activities Permit. The city's code requires that any activities that are multi-day activities do go to a public hearing, so that's why we're here with the zoning administrator for that hearing. And the requested event is the Professional Pickleball Association Select Medical OC Cup at Lifetime Fitness. And the request is for a 4-day activity between Thursday and Sunday of June 9th through 12th. So this slide just shows the location of the proposed tournament, bird's eye view of the Lifetime Fitness facility. This property is within the city's Rancho San Clemente specific plan. The zoning of this 10.4 acre site is open space 2, or private open space. It's at the intersection of Calle del Cerro and Avenida Vista, Montana. There's 231 parking spaces associated with this facility, and the structure itself is a 45,000 square foot recreational building. The event is a pickleball tournament. And again, the dates proposed are Thursday through Sunday, June 9th through 12th, with a time frame of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's an expected attendance of up to 800 individuals, split between participants of the tournament and spectators. Parking, as mentioned before, there's 231 spaces on site, and then there is additional overflow parking provided off-site. At San Clemente High School, there's 749 parking spaces plus a shuttle service. And then at Lobo Elementary, there's 67 spaces plus a 5-minute walk. There would not be shuttle service from the Lobo Elementary location. Those 2 locations were referenced in Figure 1 of the staff report. There would be 2 vehicles, 2 15-passenger vans that run from San Clemente High School. It's approximately a 5-minute drive. So the expectation is that the pickups would be occurring within 10-minute intervals at that location. Traffic control is something that was requested by our Public Works Department. There's a draft plan that was submitted by the applicants, and this draft plan was put together by Statewide Safety Systems. They are a licensed provider. Public Works does intend to have some additional clarifying conversations about this traffic plan. The initial proposal includes 5 barricades with signs, 40 cones, and a changeable message sign. Public Works anticipates requiring some additional advanced warning signage. So that would be, for instance, at the bottom of Calle del Cerro, signage that indicates warning traffic to merge, or uphill on Avenida Vista, Montana, coming towards the intersection. Again, likewise indicating what changes to the traffic pattern are expected. There is a condition of approval tied to this ongoing discussion of this traffic pattern plan, condition 7.28, which states that the applicant shall provide proof of approval. I copied the wrong one there, so let me read it from the resolution itself. One moment. That's actually 7.27, not 7.28. The applicant shall hire a traffic management company to implement a traffic management plan as approved by the Public Works Department during all days of the event. Some additional background on the property itself. There were recent entitlements approved by the Planning Commission, a use permit, a site plan permit, an architectural permit, and a sign permit in November of 2017. During the discussions of those entitlements, the Planning Commission did condition the approval of outdoor sports activities to occur only between the hours of 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. And the CUP does approve on-site service and consumption of alcoholic beverages. The requested special activity is consistent with the terms of those entitlements. So I'll touch base on these findings since that's not quite legible for those here. There's 4 findings within our code for special activities, and those findings are that the proposed use is permitted within the subject zone pursuant to the approval of the requested entitlement special activities permit. In this case, the open space zone is supportive of recreational activities. So a pickleball type tournament in use, well, the pickleball use already exists, but the tournament would be something that is supported within that zone. Thank you for the speaker cards.
Yeah.
The site is suitable for the type and intensity of the use that is proposed. So we'd be looking at can the site hold the number of people, vehicles, etc. The number of people, certainly with the 10.4 acre site, there's a lot of room for the anticipated guests. The parking is something that the site on its own cannot handle. That's why we are looking at the off-site parking elements. And I would note that there was an event last year that did not go through the permitting process, and there were the number one concern that came to the city was parking challenges associated with that. The Orange County Sheriff's Department did issue quite a number of tickets, and so there was upset both from residential neighborhoods adjacent to Vista, Montana, as well as from participants in the event who weren't anticipating a ticket on return from that event. The proposed use will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, welfare, or materially injurious to properties and improvements in the vicinity. And we believe that with addressing the parking, that we can satisfy this finding as well. And a piece of that parking plan is going to be the changeable message board and being clear as guests are coming on Pico that the high school is the primary parking lot for spectators of the event, and also requiring that shuttle service have a regularity that's consistent enough that people can get to the event. And then finally, that the proposed use will not negatively impact surrounding land uses, and that and the supporting statement for this one is that the tournament hours that are proposed are less than what the existing use permit allows for outdoor recreational activities, with the end of play occurring about 6 hours before the end of activity hours that are allowed. There is a request as well for amplified sound for this limited term event, and there's a condition, again, specifically requiring, I'll go back to that bird's eye view, that the speakers be oriented in a way that is away from the residences. So that would be directionally, as my mouse is going this way, downhill towards that open space where there are no residences, downslope. And a couple of other components of the request are on-site retail from pop-up vendors, and that would be, I'll allow the applicants to specify in more detail, but recreational equipment providers, pickleball, paddles, things of that sort. And then food and beverage on site will be provided by Lifetime's existing permanent facilities. They do, again, as referenced within the use permit approved by the Planning Commission previously, have their own liquor license, and they would handle any beverage service that would not be provided separately by the event purveyors. So those are the 4 findings that we'd be looking at, and I'll hop to the staff recommendation. Is that we determine the project to be categorically exempt pursuant to CEQA section 15304, which allows for minor temporary use of land having negligible or no permanent effects on the environment, and to adopt resolution ZA 22-010, special activities permit 22-137 for this event. So that concludes the staff presentation. I do know that the applicant and a neighbor are available today for comment and questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I've got some questions of staff, so I'm going to start with the staff questions, and then we'll get to the applicant presentation, and then we'll open the public hearing. All right, so you mentioned shuttle intervals of 20 minutes. That will be taking people from the 2 off-site parking locations, the elementary school and the high school. So 20-minute intervals for each site?
So this elementary school location will not have a shuttle.
It won't?
That's correct.
Okay.
That location is about a third of a mile uphill of the event location. So per Google Maps, that's a 5-minute walk. So the 67 parking spaces at that location would park and walk. The high school, which is a longer distance away, would have 2 shuttles operating from that location.
Okay, that was my next question. So 2 shuttles, is that number of shuttles adequate to accommodate the number of people that are going to be coming to the site and wanting to leave?
Yeah, given the distance and the regularity, staff does think that will be sufficient. The participants are given a breakdown of the time slot of when they'll arrive, so it won't be the same as, for instance, a marathon type of a race where there's one start time and the entire crowd of people are arriving at the same time. So because there will be staggered times, staff does think that the 2 shuttles would be sufficient, and the distance between those 2 would allow for, we set 20 minutes as the minimum or the maximum threshold, and the regularity should be every 10 minutes actually of a departing shuttle.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that a traffic management plan has already been submitted and is under city review.
Correct. But that traffic management plan was submitted after, or the draft plan was submitted after the report. So the condition was in place already, and there were conversations about that. But that did come out of conversations with our Public Works Division, that they did think that this event would warrant, for instance, if I go back to the visual on this, allowing this green line here would be a right turn related to the event. So to prevent the backup on Del Cerro, where the neighborhood could continue to access Vista Montana cleanly without getting caught in that backup line, they would have a second right-hand turn option with this traffic management plan. So that came out of a discussion with the Public Works team to encourage that second right-hand turn so that we wouldn't have stacking disrupting access into the neighborhood.
Okay, is the preparation of this traffic management plan a requirement of the special activities permit? I know that based on this condition,
727.
Yeah, 727, it talks about hiring a traffic management company to implement, but is the development and approval of one by the city a requirement of the SAP?
Yes, and this condition certainly could be reworded to better capture that the plan itself must be approved prior to implementation.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's see, and then alcohol, it says in the report and in the findings that alcoholic beverages are only permitted from the Life Cafe facility. So does that mean that there aren't going to be vendors outside selling alcohol? People have to come into the inside of the facility to purchase alcohol?
So there will not be separate vendors. I would defer a part of this question to the applicant. So the Life Cafe has an indoor-outdoor component to it, with the bar being just off of a large patio space. I do understand that Lifetime may have their staff offer some beverages on that patio area, but I would like them to clarify that.
Okay,
piece.
they can clarify that in their presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I have a question about figure 2 of the staff report. So based on the layout, what is the difference between the areas that are colored a darker blue and a lighter blue? There wasn't a legend that was associated with this.
Yes, so the darker blue courts are currently used for tennis purposes, but for this weekend event will be recolored to fit the pickleball dimensions, and then return to tennis use after the event.
So only these courts that are colored blue?
Correct, the light colored ones are already serving that function.
Okay, got it. All right. Okay, and then I have a question about the plan for keeping traffic and spectators from going to the facility instead of going to the high school. So is there a part of this traffic management plan that's being developed in partnership with Public Works and the applicant taking into consideration people driving in and queuing and making sure that the queuing isn't going to be a problem, and how are they going to verify that people can come in and park versus having to leave and park somewhere else?
Sure. So I'm going to start by referencing condition 7.30, and this condition again could be expanded if needed. That condition says that information on the parking and event day activities shall be shared by email to all ticketed and registered participants, directing them to park in the school parking lots and not to park on surface streets or neighborhoods. So I did receive, within the past couple days, a draft correspondence that would be going out to all event participants in advance that specifies the shuttle location, provides a map of that, and indicates that street parking is not permitted. So encouraging those participants to find a location within either the high school or the elementary school to park their vehicles. There would be a few professional players. So there's professionals, amateurs, and kids that participate during this weekend event. A couple of the professionals would be allowed to park in the Lifetime lot. They would be notified in advance and provided a form of permit for that. And the Lifetime staff will be located at the lower end of the parking driveway. So this is a distant view, and some of the parking is obstructed, but you can see at the top of the image there's a ramp off of Vista, Montana that comes down into the parking lot. At the bottom of that ramp area, there will be Lifetime staff to monitor that only their members are parking in that lot and directing any event attendees to the other parking options.
Okay, thank you. And I can ask the applicant to elaborate on that as well. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you. And the applicant, would you like to speak or make a presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jonathan, obviously you did a really nice job just kind of speaking to the event and what to expect.
Could you give us your name, please?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Devin Samtani. I'm the general manager of Lifetime Rancho San Clemente. This is Brianna Rawling. She's our membership concierge leader, and Kim Perino is our head of racket sports at the location. So, going back to last year, we obviously have been able to, I wasn't a part of the event. These two were, which is why I brought them along to kind of speak to some of those experiences. But we want to really learn and find ways to improve from some of those things that we feel like could have gone better with being able to just manage the traffic on the street coming in and just taking action with the traffic controller and things like that. Last year I know that we had the opportunity to work with San Clemente High School for parking spaces. So something that we even thought of or considered was just the verbiage that we want to speak to and not allowing for parking on the street. Right now I have team members, all of our Lifetime team members parking on, we call it the hill, but that street, so to speak, on Vista, Montana. So from a perception standpoint and to just help with ensuring that patrons and obviously members aren't parking all along the street, one thing that we thought about was we could leverage Lobo Elementary School for team member parking, where they can park up at the school and walk, because the amount of spaces that we had at San Clemente High School will be sufficient enough and be able to handle the amount of patrons that we're going to see every day. We actually had probably 100 or so spaces last year, additional spaces that weren't being used. We're expecting slightly more traffic this year, so we feel pretty good about that plan. If that's something that you feel would help better kind of support the neighborhood and the surroundings and the streets and the traffic control. In regards to the question around food and beverage sales, we're obviously leveraging our Life Cafe licensing. To Jonathan's point, the Life Cafe is indoor and outdoor. So the outdoor seating area is where we're going to be able to offer food and beverage sales. But beyond that center court, there wouldn't be any sort of ability to bring food and drinks past that. That's something that we really enforce at the property itself, with signage already in place for that. Trying to think what else. That's really it. I mean, anything that you two want to touch on, just based off of what we sort of learned from last year and how we can better support.
Yeah, I think the parking is the biggest opportunity from last year that we want to improve on this year. So having the PPA remove the wording for parking on the public streets is going to be something that the PPA will do. So they will only say that people can ride share or that they can park at the elementary school, Lobo Elementary or San Clemente High School. In addition, last year where Jonathan was showing the entrance to the Lifetime property in the parking lot, we had a PPA volunteer monitor that. And so this year we will have 2 Lifetime team members or managers up there to be able to further communicate. To your question earlier, members will be able to show their active membership card in order to have access to our parking lot. And the PPA, those few pros that have access, or that few staff members that have access to our parking lot, will have specific permits showing and indicating that they have limited access to our parking lot. So because a Lifetime team member will be managing that versus a volunteer, it will be able to amount for less queuing time, and we're going to be able to send out advance notice to our members to be able to park if they're not utilizing the club and they're here as a spectator, to park at the high school versus parking in our member lot.
Yeah, no, the biggest issue has always been parking. So I think if we were able to, as Bree said, staff with our own personnel at the top of our lot, that'll be key, because I know I felt bad for the volunteers last year too, because they didn't know who was meant to go into the lot and who should be turned away. And the problem is, if they let them down the ramp, and they were not supposed to be in the lot, there was nowhere for them to turn around and actually exit. So I think we've got that problem addressed. The other one is the parking for the majority of the guests coming should be in the high school, but there needs to be notification down near the high school that this is where you should turn, instead of allowing them up the street onto Vista, Montana, to where then they have to make a turn at the top of the hill. So addressing it further down Pico, I think is going to be key.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of follow-up questions.
Sure.
So Jonathan mentioned some of the ways that you'll be communicating with participants or spectators regarding off-site parking and the allowance or no allowance of parking on site. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? How will you ensure that people are fully aware with disclaimers about where the parking availability is and that the parking availability is not on site?
Yeah, well, we send a welcome letter to every single PPA registrant. So we basically give full detail on the location, where to park, the shuttle schedule, the intervals, the distance between the school and the property, the times that we're offering the shuttle service. And that's why, Brian, my boss and I, we were talking yesterday about this, and, I think if we allude to just parking at San Clemente High School and keeping it simple for the patrons, I almost like that idea better. I think it works better for everyone because typically on average we have 40 to 45 team members parked along that hill. That hill can hold maybe about 42 spaces. So we typically fill up that hill. If I can relieve that and leverage the Lobo Elementary School, then we can keep the communication really clear to just San Clemente High School. So they're not, driving the Lobo, seeing that there's no spaces over there, coming back around to San Clemente High School. I'd rather keep it clean and just refer them to San Clemente High School, knowing that they can support the patrons.
And then once at San Clemente High School, it's a large parking lot, there's multiple means of ingress and egress. Do you have a plan developed for signage or notification of people as they enter, where they park, and where to collect, where they can catch the shuttle?
Correct. Yeah, that was just based on the request from the last meeting that Sadie, the PPA head coordinator, and I were on. So when she partnered with Statewide Safety Systems, that was a request. So we're going to make sure that there's proper signage in addition to the traffic control up at the top of the property and the signage up there. Mm-hmm. And if you guys felt like it would be better to keep that hill just empty, then we can also add no parking signs up there as well.
Okay, and then will there be signage for the event? Any special signage that you anticipate? No. Okay. All right, I don't think I have any more questions for the applicant. At this time, I am going to open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public here wishing to speak on this item?
Defer to you first.
You first.
Okay, and then you can fill out a speaker card when you're done talking. Okay, right this moment.
You need to fill it out first or second?
No. You can speak first and then fill it out.
Speak first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My name is Lloyd Harleen. My wife and I live at 7 Puerto Caravaca, which is the first street in the Montego development, which is the closest street on the East Hill to Lifetime Fitness. During the previous pickleball tournament that Lifetime hosted several months ago, we heard at times, depending upon the wind direction, quite a bit of noise from the sound system, and a few cheers from enthusiastic players and spectators. To quote from How the Grinch Stole Christmas, "Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry boo-hoo. That's a noise from the Grinch that is simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. During the first year, plus several months since the start of the COVID pandemic, Lifetime was pretty much shut down. Our community suffered from a place to play tennis, pickleball, and work out. To create a great club requires a sense of belonging for members. An outside tournament of this magnitude makes the members proud, and they belong to something special. To repeat Dr. Seuss, but the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was. Merry, very. We are all in with merry, very. Let the noise, the tournament, begin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, would you-
Well, so my
Pretty
name's
much have that memorized.
my name's Steve Bates.
Okay.
Are you Darren's dad?
I am.
Okay, I'm good friends with Darren. So anyway, a couple of things. I'm here as a San Clemente resident. I do believe that last year there were some issues with parking, and we've hammered that. And that's just because pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States, if not worldwide. And some of this stuff is uncharted territory. You just don't know what's going to happen. You have a big tournament, you don't have any clue who's going to show up. And I think last year was a little difficult, but it was also difficult because they tried to establish parking at the outlet center. And at the last minute, the outlet center said, we'd love to have it, but it's going to be $20 a car. Might have been $40 a car, but it was ridiculous. And so it got a little bit out of hand. I think they've addressed it now, and I think that it's going to be great. Again, I have nothing but full support for this. I did have one recommendation, and I believe on that Avenida Vista, Montana. Isn't that no parking?
No,
For
allows
another
parking.
one
allows
side of the
parking.
street?
There's a marker
Yes,
Uh,
there's a sign.
where it starts and then it ends.
Yeah. So if you would look
So
at
it
where
holds
the
about
tickets
42
were and where
spaces.
the police reports were, it was, I guarantee you 95% of those were along that corridor, because you didn't know. You didn't know.
Yeah.
You saw people parking there. I would suggest that they have a cone with a line, just
Yeah.
so that people know there's no parking here and where there is. But
Right.
95, if not 99% of the complaints of tickets were from people that parked there. They didn't know. Here's a sign, no parking. It's 100 yards from down here. If someone parks there at the sign and I park below them, you don't know. You have no clue. I was running around saying, no, you guys can't park here. Park somewhere else. The pickleballers, by and large, will do a great job of finding their parking, and they'll park at the high school. I think staff's done an excellent job in the representation of what it is. I think it'll be a great tournament. It's a great thing for San Clemente. Huge. For San Clemente, and so from the residents' point of view, I thank the city for their good job on this. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, with that, I will close the public hearing. Okay. So, based on what I heard today, Jonathan, on the conditions of approval, 7.3, it says the sale of beer and wine / alcoholic beverages. It says for on-site / off-site consumption. Is there any reason why we need to leave, or why off-site was included?
No, that can be strict.
Okay, so let's go ahead and strike off-site. And then on condition 7.27, can we clarify the requirement for the applicant to prepare a traffic management plan that must be reviewed and approved by the city prior to the start of the event? Something to that effect?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And I think that's it. I don't think I have any other clarifications or comments. So I am familiar with the site. I have reviewed the details in the report, the findings, and the resolution. And I am able to make the findings for the special activities permit. The special activity is allowed with the approval hearing by the zoning administrator, and it is a permitted use within the subject zone. The site is suitable for the type and intensity of use that's proposed. The existing Lifetime facility is designed for recreation activities, including pickleball, which can accommodate the temporary tournament and any required facilities such as vendor tents and porta potties. And the proposed use will not negatively impact surrounding land uses in that the tournament hours will be less than what's permitted by the existing entitlements for outdoor recreation. The temporary use of amplified sound will be shielded and directed away from the residential neighborhoods, and the demand for parking will be accommodated by a park and ride shuttle program with guests parking at San Clemente High School, and with the concurrence from our Public Works Engineering Department on a traffic management plan. And I appreciate the information that the applicant provided with respect to notification to participants of shuttle schedule, shuttle intervals, where the shuttle is located, etc. So with that, I will determine that the project is categorically exempt from the requirements of CEQA pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15304. Minor alterations to land, minor temporary use of land having negligible or no permanent effects on the environment. And I approve resolution ZA 22-010, approving the special activities permit 22-137 PPA Select Medical OC Cup at Lifetime Fitness, subject to the conditions of approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And
it.
then if you could just turn in those speaker cards, that would be great.
And Lifetime folks, if you wouldn't mind hanging around.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Lloyd. I can reach
The
out. There you
next
go.
item on the agenda is new business. Seeing none, we'll go to the next item. Old business. Seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting of the zoning administrator. Just can
1
you,
second, guys. Sorry.
the meeting's being recorded. I'll adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting of the zoning administrator to be held at 3 p.m. on Thursday, June 9th. 2022. Actually, I think that meeting's canceled, so I'm going to adjourn to
23rd.
the 23rd. Is that the next one? Thank you. I'll be adjourning this one to Thursday, June 23rd, 2022 at the Community Development Department located at 910 Calle Negocio, San Clemente, California. All right. Thank you. Okay. I'll go away.
Thank you.